Hello and welcome to this best of three series between Berserk and Nerexa or Serica in the Warhammer League. Be sure to like and subscribe for more games and let's get into it. Today we have a Norsca against Wood Elves. Wood Elves are Nerexa's main faction and Berserk is very adept at playing the Norscan side. So let's check it out. See what the win conditions are for each side. We immediately see that Norsca actually has two worms, which aren't banned or limited in this tournament. So he is basically expecting to go with these guys and totally collapse the archer positions from the opponent. He also has the followers of the Great Eagle, which is a pretty good chariot, but it is very susceptible to being sniped. Like all chariots on the Norscan side are extremely squishy, especially from like a volley from either Deepwood Scouts or from Way Watchers. So this could be a very tough thing to deal with. And he also has a Chimera, which again, the ROR Chimera is banned here, so he can use the normal one. When it comes to the actual army here, it just looks like a proper rush. He just has a couple more Bearmen and Sail alongside Chain Lightning and Uranins and Windblast. Interesting. I can see why he would need Windblast. Windblast is very good against stuff like Dryads and against stuff like Way Watchers or Deepwood Scouts because they are very low armor. But I don't see, like, Uranins is probably pretty good at sniping Cav, but I feel like into a good player, especially like Wood Elf main, let's say like Nerexa, he is not going to leave his Cav in a fight for a prolonged period of time so that you can actually cast your Uranins. Because Uranins takes a hot minute to actually drop down and do the damage that it needs to do. But yeah, very rushy army that is going to try and get as much value as they can out of the opponent by farming them with the Unburrows. And then probably summon in either more mobility or some units for capture rate. So he just wants to attack the opponent as fast as possible. While Nerexa is actually playing super interesting build with immediately going with triple or quad Wild Rider with shields and no shields, so that he can just play the mobility game and defend his Deepwood Scouts from all the mobility from the opponent. So this is going to be a super close game, I feel like, because Wild Riders are insane. Probably one of the best Cav on charge in the game that deals the most amount of damage. And he also has a Spellweaver of Life with Flesh to Stone. This is to defend both the Deepwood Scouts and the Wild Riders on a charge from like the Norscan Ice Wolves or something like that. And he also has a Loex Blessing, which is, oh my god, this ability is so cracked. So he can Loex Blessing, let's say these two units of Wild Riders, and then just speedily enter the opponent's backline and just absolutely kill everything that is there. Also Shield of Thorns, again to probably defend the Wild Riders from something like Skinwolves or Famir when they're in a fight. And yeah, Channeling Staff, that's nothing much special here. But yeah, here's a so Nerexa's main plan is to use the Deepwood Scouts and try and start picking off all of the mobility from the opponent, and just use the Wild Riders to defend. So this is just a classic game of Norsca versus Wood Elves. And again, he is trying to scout with the Norscan War Ice Wolves. He is technically, these are just Warhounds, mind you. So these are not even Ice Wolves, which means that they're 450. So they're very easy to just go in, poke, see where the opponent is, and then get out. Because even if these guys shoot a volley, and we are seeing that Nerexa is actually holding the volley, these guys, one, can dodge, second, they aren't worth even shooting. Same for the Chimera. The Chimera can easily dodge this stuff unless it is somehow immobilized. But we don't have an actual unit that can do a net, so he didn't go for a Glade Lord or something like a Luthanar or something like that. So yeah, he's he's getting chased by the worms. The worms are super annoying for the side of the Wood Elves, because the moment they stop, these guys will unburrow and do a bunch of damage. Oh, he actually catches with the Wild Riders 2 chariot units, which is super bad fight for them. But the Riders of the Mighty Serpent can actually turn this potentially around. So especially with the Wind Blast, but the Flesh to Stone comes down and actually is turning this into a pretty good fight. I'm actually very surprised at the amount of damage that Followers of the Great Eagle and this Marauder Ice Wolf Chariot is doing to these Wild Riders. It seems like it's literally nothing is happening to it. That's interesting. Also, Marauder Bearmen fighting Wild Riders. You just want a tar pit, so that is totally fine. We have even Sisters of the Torrent, so this is like a full, oh my god, that was a beautiful breath. That breath absolutely cooking like 500 value of this Wild Rider unit. And actually, just as I praised Serica for probably being able to dodge something like a Thunderbolt, he gets hit with one right here to just lose another 30% HP off this Wild Rider. I also don't see why he's being so aggressive in the opponent's side of the map. He has 2 objectives. He also caught a 3rd one. He doesn't need to push with these 2 Wild Riders. He has the ranged advantage, especially with both the Deepwood Scouts and the new Sisters of Thorn. So he can just slowly pick off these 2 chariots and then move on to the rest of the army, which is like Bearmen and stuff. But nice of him to get the triple cap. And yeah, this seems like just shooting into Bearmen. Worms are very disruptive, but luckily, even though the worms are disruptive, all of the Wood Elves have fire whilst moving, so they can actually move and shoot. But we do see that one of the Deepwood Scouts is gone. 2 of the Wild Riders have also been deleted. And there's a Loex Blessing here just to try and save this one and go back into the backline. But again, I'm super surprised that these chariots actually beating stuff like Wild Riders in combat. That's crazy. Never expected to see that. And yeah, he just is summoning now out some Horse Masters. Norsca Ice Wolves are catching this Deepwood Scout that is out of position to the side. Like there is no support for this one. And it seems like Berserk is just pushing back very hard into the Wood Elves now. This Chimera is also completely uncontested now, with most of the Deepwood Scouts actually being offline. Especially this one got totally destroyed by this Norscan Ice Wolf. This one again gets caught by the two units, and it looks like a absolute mess for the side of the Wood Elves, which this is a pretty cool charge scene of just the Wild Riders getting absolutely hammered by all of the Norscans. And now Berserk, all he can do is just spam out Ice Wolves and yeah, here we go. Just spam out Ice Wolves and spam out Skin Wolves and just keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. The Dryads are super good, but they aren't gonna be that good versus the Chariots. The Chariots are still alive. There's Bearmen that actually are chevroned up to 4. Or no, these are Marauders that are chevroned up to 4. Interesting. And yeah, Skin Wolves, these guys will do have magic damage. So the Dryads actually have magic damage, are very good against Skin Wolves because they both slow them and can pass through their physical resistance. And yeah, very, very interesting. I feel like the Worms, they really didn't do much in this game, right? They just popped out once to deal the initial damage, and everything else was just taken care of by the mobility, by the chariots and the support of the chariots. Oh, this is gonna be a great Thunderbolt here, or Chain Lightning. Oh, that is also very, very nasty. It does hit some of the Marauders, but that's sacrifices I am willing to make type of deal for Berserk at this point, especially with him being now 3,000 ahead. He doesn't even care for his own home objective. It isn't even captured, but again, he doesn't care. If he stuffs the Wood Elves back into their spawn now, it is going to be just a GG. And we also see Kurgan Horsemen dual weapons. Super cool. We basically never see these guys because just the other variant is just so good. But I guess into Wood Elves it does make sense because you're probably trying just to capture archers, right? They have 90 base speed, but look at this combination of slowing. This is probably the barring like the Yin lore slow, overcasted, this is probably the most amount of slowing you can get out of a single unit. Crazy. Both the Chill Aura, the Frostbite, and the Poison, absolutely killing them. This is why I don't like the Ice Wolves, by the way. Not the Ice Wolves, the Kurgan Horsemen. The moment something turns around and starts hitting them, they instantly rout and die. Yeah, both of the worms just chilling. Chilling underground. Still, this one, oh, this one still 200, 200 damage. And again, we see a Thunderbolt that just got cast down. And even though these guys have Shield of Thorns, which is melee reflection, they're just not going to be enough. Like, there isn't enough things now to push back the Norscan Tide. And he's just now going to summon in more Outer Bearmen, more mobility, contest everything. And the DPS, the main problem is that the DPS got shut down from the Wild Riders. They can, not from the Wild Riders, from the Wood Elves. They can contest this type of mobility and this type of melee game with just spamming out Dryads, Wildwood Rangers, and Cav, like Wild Riders and stuff. But the fact that all of the Deepwood Scouts actually got shut down by a combination of mobility and the worms just being a bit annoying to them and putting them out of their position is what is sealing the deal here. So yeah. What is this spell that's going down? Oh, a Thunderbolt into the Dryad unit. Damn. Actually doing very well. Like 30% damage alongside the Dreadworm that's gonna terror out them. And yeah, this looks like a complete blowout now. There's literally just one Wild Rider unit, and the Chimera is finally hunting the Spellweaver of Life. So they're about to die. Serica can probably just try to Gremlin it, but yeah, it ain't gonna cut it. Like, there's just one Wildwood Rider, Wild Rider, and then another one that's coming out. While on the other side, it would be quite interesting to see, besides the gold damage done value, we would see like the amount of units you have fielded on the terrain, not the terrain, the actual map at any given point, because that would be a much better indicator of who is ahead in a single game. Oh, relatively nice dodge from the Wild Riders. Here from the Chimera, we saw that the first breath actually, like, basically killed the entire unit, while it is possible very much to dodge. It just depends on the animation and how it goes. Oh, but there might be a resurgence a bit of the Wood Elves. Like, they're still ahead on points because Berserk was a bit sloppy with getting all of the points up, right? So technically, he still is even ahead on points and has one home objective fully secured. And with his mobility, he can get over here. Oh, we actually see a Dreadmaw getting unsummoned because he knows that he needs more units on the field. I did not expect this at all. For Berserk to not be able to stop the Wild Rider Tide. It even seems that if he went for a full melee build and just spammed out Glade Riders and Wild Riders and the Sisters of the Thorn, he would be in a better position than having those Deepwood Scouts that were so easily compromised. And now, he's actually getting very much compromised. That was a pretty limp charge from both sides, but a nice kite through the Bearmen to stop the Wild Riders, and now that they can take over the fight. Riders of the Mighty Serpent being redone, and there is a severe lack of skin wolves in this game, which is, again, super interesting, because you would assume that there would be a lot of Wild Riders, but it might be just my game knowledge being out of date, that you wouldn't go many skin wolves in this matchup. But yeah, there isn't much magic damage, right, on the roster, except for the Deepwood Scouts, and he already shut all of them down. I would definitely have at least like 2, not just 1 in the reserve pool, right? And actually, Nerexa is climbing back. Damn, he's really gremlining it out. He is just getting all of the good fights because the Wild Riders are so cracked, right? These guys got 1200. Sisters of the Thorn are insane unit with 30%, 40% physical resist. The first time I fought a Wood Elf that was just spamming Sisters of the Thorn, I think it was attack speed enjoyer in a specific game, and I just didn't know that these guys have such high physical resist. And I was like, oh, just gonna charge this unit. This is a skirmish unit. I'm just gonna charge this unit with a Hellstrider. And then they turn around, don't lose 15% HP, and kill the Hellstrider on the charge. Damn, that was a crazy realization from my side. And yeah, we see both of that, which is a smart thing. He unsummoned at least one of the Dreadmaws to get a refund of like 30%, so that he can field just more units. I think he should even unsummon the other one, because it's basically doing nothing. And the Chimera still trying to find and kill the Spellweaver, but it's ducking and dodging all of the attacks very well. If this guy dies, I mean, Wood Elves don't have that much of a problem with leadership. Like, all of their stuff is like 70s or 65s, so they aren't gonna rout instantly. But if there is terror around, they probably will rout at least a bit easier. But this is what Nerexa doesn't want. He doesn't want a pit fight, right? There's a Bearman, there are Ice Wolves, there's Skin Wolves, there's a Chimera, there's another Ice Wolf potentially here, and Riders of the Mighty Serpent. He doesn't want a prolonged fight, right? He just wants to run around with his Sisters of Thorn and with his Wild Riders and try to kill the opponent by putting him out of position. But it seems that, again, he got caught with the Wild Riders, and now he's suffering for it, because potentially if Berserk just puts these guys on an objective and starts capturing that objective, there's nowhere to run, right? And this might seal the deal, right? If he kills the Spellweaver, so there's no more flesh to stone for the good fights of the cav units, that actually might be the sealer. Also, we have again another Wild Rider. All of these guys basically paying for themselves, but this is gonna be super hard to stop. This is a bunch of capture rate, right? So these guys are like, what, 2.5 right now. These guys are 3.8, and Sail is a constant character, so 3. So there's like 4 units that are gonna just capture the objective. And moving over here, he is just about to capture this one, but Nerexa actually keeps it. But this, the Marauder Ice Wolf Chariot coming onto the objective will actually push the weight over. Especially this unit will go into the Dryads and go through them like butter, right? Same with the Kurgan Horsemen. If they don't get charged, oh, that was a very clean turnaround. Damn. That was an instant zoom U-turn to run away from the Wild Riders. That's crazy. These guys are as fast as they are. Yeah, they're basically the same speed. Damn, that was a speedy U-turn. But now it's the same thing that we just talked about, right? So Serica is going to get caught in an actual fight and not just chase down and have a good cav engagement from the opponent. So, oh, the actually Spellweaver lives at 164 HP. Damn. But yeah, this looks like a just overwhelming amount of numbers finally from Berserk. And I honestly thought that I was gonna speed this up, and I honestly thought that this was over like 5 minutes ago, but yeah, he somehow almost clawed it back with the amount of Wild Rider, cav kiting, and cav fighting. And this is the thing, this is what he wants, right? He wants a Wild Rider, some tattered Dryads, and just hit off a Bearman and recapture an objective. But now he just doesn't have the space to do so, right? There are just too many units that are too effective for on the entirety of the map to chase down anything that comes out from the wolves. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I expect a tap out, especially when this guy just insta-terror routes. Yeah, instant shatters. That is pretty much it. You just speed it up with the cleanup right now. Yeah, there we go. Damn, what a almost turnaround from Serica. That was a very close game. Very well played to both players. So Worm, just annoying. Nothing special in this game. Chimera paid for itself and then some. Wolves, oh my god, again, I am super surprised at the amount of damage these chariots did, right? This one didn't like super overperform. It just about paid for itself. It's 1000. But especially at the start, I guess the the magic damage and the fire damage was the deciding factor for this chariot being able to fight off the Wild Riders. Because this is Tzeentch Marauder chariot. And yeah, damn, this is a cracked unit. Absolutely cracked unit. It's absolutely insane to me that these guys cost, what, 700? God damn. They even got added with Devastating Flanker in the recent update. So they're absolutely insane. Damn, also Bearmen paying for themselves, Sail being very good. Bearmen, again, the Kurgan Horsemen were the underwhelming part, right? If you drop like 2 Kurgan Horsemen, get an... Oh, he actually did have 2 Skin Wolves. No, why didn't he didn't summon the other one? But yeah, drop like at least one of the Kurgan Horsemen, get more Ice Wolves. Ice Wolves are so much better just because of the Frostbite, right? And these guys, even though they have like a super good charge and some damage on the charge bonus, they just didn't perform that well, I feel like. Yeah, Bearmen are just your staple to defend against the Dryads. Let's see the value under the Wildwood, the Deepwood Scouts. Yeah, 500, 900, 300, 300. Yeah, legit. If he just went for like a full melee build, the Wild Rider Cav would have basically carried him. Damn. Dryads all did very decently or very well, and he didn't even have Wildwood Rangers. He could have technically summoned them out, but I understand why he didn't. There's just so much cav, right? If you summon in a Wildwood Ranger and gets charged by these dual weapons, it's gonna get deleted. If it gets charged by the chariot, it gets deleted. So I guess, what could he have done bonus? I'm also surprised he doesn't have the ROR Christmas Cav, because I feel like there's very little, if none, damage from magic, and those guys are ethereal, right? So they have very high phys res. Interesting, super cool game though. Very interesting to see this. This matchup is like very commonly played out currently. Norsca is super popular because they're super strong, especially with the Worm, with the Chimera and stuff, with Sail as their new hero, and like Wood Elves are just relatively stable, good faction that you can play always. I'll see you in the next game of the series. Cheers.